Some of them, or a few of them have been started before now. I wouldn't, if a child from FAGC Lagos, if a child has become a Christian, can he inherit a Muslim mother or father or any Muslim at all? I think we have answered that question. And I also remember that you have also touched that today when you started. So that has been taken care of. And the brother also added that, maybe the sister, the person also added that if the parent or the testator, that means the deceased, has already written his will that they should benefit. Well, I think what this is saying is that if any of the heirs or any of the here, if when the deceased or when the testator is dead, and any of the heir becomes or apostatizes, it becomes a Christian or a non-Muslim, and it has been written in a will that how the will be distributed, so to speak, but that person now becomes a Christian. How should we deal with such a situation? And I think you have also touched this in the sense that everything that the person owns, it belongs to Allah. And Allah has decreed how the will should be dealt with, so to speak. But I don't know whether you want to speak more to this.
No.
Okay.
You have captured it excellently.
No. The next one is from Said Ibrahim. Can an orphan who happens to be a Muslim inherit his father, a non-Muslim, if the father dies before he attains the age of maturity and is in dire needs of support, financial or otherwise?
Funny enough, there's a contradiction in the question. If this orphan is a minor, he's always a Muslim. So there is a contradiction in that question. He is always a Muslim. But if he's not a minor, whether he's in need or not, if he's capable of changing religion, then he's capable of losing his right.
Yeah. No, I don't think, I think the question is the other way around, sir.
Okay, can you please read it again?
The orphan is a Muslim and the father is a non-Muslim.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, yes, I see what you mean.
The father is dead. Yes. The father is dead now.
Yes.
But the orphan is a Muslim.
Yes.
And his parent, father, is a Christian.
Yes.
However, the orphan who is now is of maturity.
Yes.
But is in dire need of support, financially or otherwise.
Yes.
But the father is a Christian or is a non-Muslim. Yes. How do we deal with such a situation?
Such a situation. The orphan doesn't have a right. The word is right. He doesn't have a right to the parents' property. It doesn't change. The Muslims have a duty to take care of that orphan. He doesn't have a right. If he's not deprived of it and it's given to him, allow Allah, but he doesn't have a right to it. The situation of necessity doesn't change the rules.
Naam, Jazakallah khairan. I hope that is clear. Next one. The next question is, okay, it goes thus. If the husband has more than one wife, how do wives share the inheritance? I think we can delay this question till the practical aspect, the one we, when we go back to the website. What about that?
Absolutely.
Now, okay, the next question is from Shamsidin Ojoye. What is the maximum number of wives that can share in a man's inheritance? I need a verse of the Holy Quran to buttress this.
I don't know about a verse of the Quran to buttress a number of wives sharing from inheritance. And this is part of the problem we create for ourselves, because there is no such thing as particularizing to the number of wives when it comes to inheritance. What is recognized as wives in Islam is only 4 wives at a time. And that is my response. So if you have more than 4, any wife after number 4 is haram. It's not a wife. Prophet said divorce. Somebody became a Muslim and he had more than 4 wives, probably 8, 10, I don't know. Prophet said pick 4 and divorce the others. This is even before the person became a Muslim. He became a Muslim and had these wives. Prophet said you can only have 4 wives. So, but having a ayah of the Quran, especially on wives that can inherit, does not exist, because you cannot particularize on something that is already a general rule. You can't have more than 4 wives in Islam. So there is no ayah of the Quran separate from the ayahs of the Quran that talk about wives. Anything outside of that is not a wife that is recognized in Sharia. And I'm sure the questioner doesn't need an ayah for that.
Now, Jazakallah khairan. The next question is from Fash. I guess that is Haji Fashola Ibrahim. He says, Assalamu alaikum. For the case of divorce, does the wife have alimony in Islam? If yes, how does that share determine?
Well, divorce is not our topic today, and it's a whole topic in Islam. I'm sure, I hope that is not relating to the idea of inheritance. But yes, there is an idea of alimony in Islam. It's in the Quran. Allah did say that when you are, and that can be enforced actually by Sharia courts, when you are parting with them, Allah used the word that you should part with them with goodness. And the ulama and fuqaha, the Islamic jurists have understood from that you should give them a parting gift is part of the Islamic process of divorce. It is, if it is the husband that is divorcing the person, not the wife that is divorcing the husband, as it were, they are entitled to a parting gift, which is then called alimony. As to what share is it, I don't know. You will have to ask people who know better than I do. But there isn't, in my basic understanding, a specification of a share as an issue there, but that this should be a good parting gift. When you go to ayahs of Surah Al-Nisa dealing with divorce, you'll find this there.
Umaisha. No, Jazakallah khairan. Sorry, are you done, sir? Sorry for the interference. Okay. I'm going to take a few hands. Hello, sir.
Yes, please do. Yes, please. I'm keeping quiet so that I will not obstruct you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, before we take the few hands, let me take one more question from the chat box. Then I will go to the hands raised and take a few hands. On inheritance sharing, when the male child has already excluded all other siblings of the husband and the father of the husband is late, does the rule have opportunity for the husband's brother, sisters, etc., to have part of the inheritance in case where the husband did not write any will or to gift them before death?
Typically,
I don't know whether you got that, sir.
I got a part of it, and the part I got centrally is that there is a father, there is a brother there, there is a son involved, right? That they do, there is a son. Once there is a son, the brothers and sisters are blocked. But as the contribution from Alhaji Fashola pointed out, there is actually also recognition. First, 2 things. Practically, it's possible that once the divisions are made or when the allocations are made, there's a fraction left. That fraction automatically will go to the brother in that case. But where, as may be the case, for instance, that there isn't such a fraction left, it is highly recommended that the relatives, starting with brother, for instance, in that position, who are secondary, who will have been secondary heirs, are given something from the inheritance, but it is more a recommended thing than a right, and that's why you don't have any proportion allocated to them, as it were. But it's very important to give relatives. Allah mentioned it twice, but there was no indication of how much it is to be. It's a good practice, and for very important reasons, it's very useful to do it. You will need to keep good relations with your father's family or your mother's family for your own good too, and benefiting them with part of the inheritance would be something that will be welcome. And that can be done immediately, but it can also be done as a continuing thing. So even if they are not given, if it's a house, for instance, and they're not given a share of it, you collect rents from there. From time to time, you give them something from there. And they would, whether they are thinking about it as coming from your father's property or not, it will keep relations between you. So this is the sunnah and the way we should operate. Yes. But there's not right. And that's why you find it difficult to find a
Go ahead, sir.
right share.
No, Jazakallah khairan. We're also fortunate again, we have our father in house in the person of Imam Ahmad. He's what let me say, I don't know, my father, please, father, please indulge me. Let me take the two other brothers.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Ahmad.
Before we take it, inshallah. Naam, he's around.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hafazakumullah.
Wa iyyakum.
We'll take you.
Jazakumullahu khairan.
Amin wa iyyakum.
Well, it is.
Okay, Brother Shola Rogbadamu should go ahead, please, with your question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
May Allah subhanahu wa sharing knowledge with us. May it weigh Rabbal Alameen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala benefit those of us who have listened. My short intervention is just on the question that was raised, though it has been addressed, but I feel it must be emphasized. Someone asked about alimony in relation to IRS. These are two issues that are not related. Unless there is a definite promise by the deceased, then the question of alimony does not arise at all. Like the learned professor had observed or stated, no particular share, even though it is recommended that when you divorce and you are parting, let it be with hasanat, parting gifts, and that is what it is, gifts. It is not a right, and it is not fixed. And if that is not done before death, then it cannot be done after death unless it is reflected in the will, and it is entirely discretionary. If the amount or the particular item is not stated. This is my area of intervention, and I am sorry. The next one that I want to say, I do not know whether the learned professor had included, because I joined the program quite late, whether he had included in his presentation how to actually make a will, because I have discovered in the course of dealing with a lot of people that they do not know how
I can't hear Sheikh anymore. Am I the only one who can't hear him?
We know Excel of how to write a will even do. That's why I said I'm sorry. I don't know whether this has been covered, but I just felt that if
Okay. Can I respond to Sheikh?
Yeah. Please go ahead now. Please go ahead, sir.
I was actually requested to consider this. I was requested, I think last night or something, when I got in touch, that people would like to hear about this. And my response is that that cannot be something we can do here. It is, I think Sheikh raised this important issue the last time. But what I covered, Sheikh, is that I said, this is where I covered it. I said, in trying to make a will, you should make sure you get to a lawyer in your jurisdiction.
That's right.
And this is the sure fireproof way of not running into any problems. I emphasized that, and that cannot be done here, and I'm not looking to do it here, as it were. So that is, I actually dwelt a bit on that, Sheikh. And Jazakallah khairan for pointing out. As to your initial contribution, I adopt every word, and I'm very happy that you emphasized it. I do not understand this question of alimony to have anything to do. In fact, even in common law, the word alimony has nothing to do with somebody that is dead. It is two people there, they are divorced. If there is any question of alimony, exactly what you said, Sheikh. But it's nothing to do with the will. And that's why I said that's a different topic entirely. So if at all there is anything like Sheikh has now brought out, and we need to emphasize, if this has been thought about as, okay, now the man has died and he had an ex-wife, so what would be a lot? Well, it's exactly what Sheikh said. That's my position. That's the position in Islamic law. And that's the position even in common law. It's that if he has then said anything like he's able to give anybody what he wills under his power to give maximum of 1/3 and even preferably lower, as practiced by the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, then he can. But otherwise, there is no right there. And the issue of that ex-wife doesn't come in at all in terms of them having a right or having any benefit from the property. So we need to be very clear about that. Thank you, Sheikh. So we can
Can we take you can take your question.
After all questions, we still have some time. I think Imam can talk to us briefly on how to write wills, because some people said you just list all your assets and liabilities, and that is the will. So let him talk about it briefly after all the questions have been addressed, if you have more time. Otherwise, we can come back another day to address that.
Okay. Sorry, Abrazak. I could share with you something that we use in the mosque. I don't know whether it will be up to standard, because when you are before professors, you don't talk of law.
Maybe you are talking about common law. You are not talking about the law you know about. When you are before professors, you talk about the law you know, which you know. So this is not a problem at all. My concern is yes.
Abrazak could come. I will share with him, and the professor could look at it for improvement, so that we can share, we can benefit.
Okay, then that's fine. That's fine. Amen.
Jazakumullah khairan. Yeah, brother, can we take your contributions, please? Question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Mine is a comment on the earlier question about someone who probably married more than 4 wives and died in that state. So there is a case that was similar case came up. A one-time strong man of Ibadan politics, Usari Adilakun, died in that state. So the family went to court. They wanted the will to be done according to Sharia. The ruling then was that because he had married more than 4 wives, which was out of Sharia, so the court ruled that they couldn't share his will according to Sharia. So
yes, the court is
that was
absolutely
the
right.
ruling there.
Even though he's a Muslim, there are cases like this, and we have to be extremely careful. You have brought out actually something to my mind that I want to say today to our brothers and sisters. There is the notion that Islamic law, actually two separate things. Because of time, let me just make it brief. To just say to you, what you have said, Brother Aro, sorry, the full name is not coming up. That is the position. The court is right. The court will say that he has moved from being a Muslim polygamist to being a customary law polygamist, even though he's a Muslim. And to that extent, the court cannot affect his law of Islamic personal status. But that ruling, that decision proves what I was saying earlier, that you can be sure that under Nigerian law and Nigerian courts, our constitution recognizes that you can have your property shared according to Islamic law if you lived according to Islamic law. So you are right. I cannot blame the court, because unfortunately, if you take it to a Sharia court too, I don't know, maybe that was taken to a high court. We take it to a Sharia court will tell you that, well, you have to first determine that he's not having more than 4 wives, and those 4 wives, who are they? So the court is right in what they have done. That is how Nigerian law stands. Allah knows best. The second issue I wanted to talk about is this issue that Muslims, when we have done our nikah, and Ansaruddin, Nawaruddin, Jamaatul Islamiyah, all our associations, they've given us, it has been officiated by Imam Ahmad, by Sheikh Zoglon, all of those. May Allah have mercy on those who are dead among our shuyukh and preserve those who are alive among them. You have your certificate of Islamic marriage. People still feel some sense, sometimes, especially the younger generation these days, they feel a sense of inadequacy, and they then go and they then go to the registry for a registry marriage. This is part of the problems of colonialism and colonial imposition, especially because they say, when they want to go abroad, they need it. Let me just use this opportunity to tell you that Islamic law marriage or any other religious form of marriage is recognized in the common law. If you come to this country with your Islamic certificate, it is recognized. Where the problem will begin is when they don't want to recognize polygamy. But it is not your monogamous Islamic marriage that is problematic. So you don't need the people who are married for 10 years, 15 years, they now rush to the registry because they want to apply for American visa. You don't need it. But what you have done when you do that is to now change your status. You change your status. And if you come to this country and then the person dies, God help you. If the court then says somebody challenges your will, they say you cannot use it. You cannot be, Islamic law cannot be applied because your status is not, personal status is no longer Islamic law with the form of marriage that you had. So that is a technicality. Let us beware. But it just came to my memory as to the impact of things we do because others are doing it and people are just talking without us understanding the legal implications, as it were. So may Allah forgive Alhaji Adedibu and all our dead.
No,
Yes.
Jazakallah khairan. Can we take the next question? We have the next question. Okay, I think he has lowered his hand, I guess. No one is raising up his or her hand.
As a new one.
Okay, Brother Sulaiman Ibn Dawood. Sulaiman Ibn Dawood, can you please ask your question or question?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum
Wa
salam
alaikum
wa
assalam wa
rahmatullahi wa
rahmatullah.
barakatuh.
I'm sorry. Jazakumullah khair to the learning professor and every participant. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase them in knowledge. My question goes thus. I want to ask, do we have a specific time which an inheritance has to be actually dealt with? Maybe someone dies, and do we have that it must be actually shared immediately, or it can actually have some time, maybe a year, for some things to be done before we can do that?
Jazakumullah khairan. I was asked this question 2 days ago. It's the answer first is that there isn't a prescription that, for good reason, that it must be next week, 1 month, or 1 year. But there is a principle. And that principle is that in Islam, when something is ripe to be done, you don't leave it, whether it's salat, whether it's burial, or anything. It's for instance, our practice that when the Muslim dies, immediately we bury the person. But if there is strong suspicion that the person was poisoned, for instance, the Sharia allows us to conduct an autopsy to determine that. And then immediately but that should be done as soon as. I know this may raise a lot of issues that we are cutting the body. Sharia allows us, because we have to establish justice as part. Otherwise, then the person must be buried, as it were. But if somebody has come of age and he doesn't have the means to marry, Prophet said, he said, marry as soon as, but you have the capacity. But the person doesn't have capacity, we will have to ensure that there is capacity in order to bear the responsibilities of marriage, financial being one of them. Allah knows best. But what has happened, which is generating this question, is that we have people delaying and delaying under either genuine or unfounded reasons. So the point goes first to ensure you have the right sort of executors. And secondly, my answer is that there isn't a prescribed time, but if there isn't anything delaying it, then it should go on as soon as reasonably possible. But I have not found a prescription, and I would be grateful for Imam Ahmad's contributions on this, in case I have missed something fundamental on that. Allah knows best. But it's not that it should be left as some people, because they want to gain an advantage, have done it. The last point I wanted to make is that there is something that is indicated though, and that is that where there are orphans and they are of young age, their interest must be protected. Unfortunately, that is usually used as an excuse in a negative way. But there is something about orphans where when they come of age, as Allah said in Surah An-Nisa, then you give them their legacy. So there is something about guardianship. But that guardian, once there is a guardian, that guardian should take charge of the share of the underage person, which guardian can be one of the parents, or could be somebody else specified, which is one of the things you can't use your will for. So it's really helpful to think, not to think that because my child is now 10, by the time I die, it will be 22. You don't know when you die. If it's 10 today, then you think about a guardian and make that clear, so that is also something that takes care of that excuse for delay. Or if you do it now, it will be a problem and all of that. It's because there are lapses that need to have been covered. But if those lapses have been covered, then we should not have undue delay. But there may be genuine reasons for delay. But the issue is good faith and fear of Allah as guiding principles for the executors. Allah knows best. But like I said, Sheikh Ahmad will be well placed to put me right if I have not have either misplaced the position or missed out something. Assalamu alaikum.
I think the remaining questions.
So let me quickly go to the other questions in the chat box. Okay, I'll go to someone that is from Suleiman Umar. Assalamu alaikum. Please clarify the difference between a will and inheritance. Based on what I've learned in the lecture, non-Muslims can be given within a will, but can't get part of the inheritance. Thus, a Muslim child can take what a non-Muslim father wills, but cannot inherit if not willed. Can you explain?
Thank you very much. We are not, every part of that submission is correct, except the last one. So I'll come to the major part, the first part of it, between a will and inheritance. Yeah, like I said last time, and I tried to clarify at the beginning of this lecture today also, when we talk about the will, there are two things we are talking about. We are talking about a document, which in the Western sense embodies everything we have and how our liabilities and how we want it to be distributed, in which case we just choose who we want and how we want for what we want. Now, all of that is recognized in Islamic law, except the last part. The last part, which is about who we want, what we want. No. In Islamic law, your will should detail your liabilities. That's why I think Imam said, okay, we will get a sample and look. You should say who you are, who your primary heirs are at least. Okay? Your father, your mother, your children, your husband, your wife, as the case may be. These are your primary heirs. Those people should be listed as basic. Okay? You can't list all of your family, your brothers and your sisters. There is no real need for that. They are secondary, except, of course, if you don't have some of those that I've mentioned. Now, it should then talk about all the persons that you want to be your executor, and if there is young children involved, the guardians. It should not talk about what you have and then what your liabilities are. Again, after that, it should then make bequests if you wish to. That is, in strictly speaking, what is similar to the so-called will in the Western sense. You should make a bequest. A bequest is, I gift these to this and that. Now, two clauses. You can't give for a non-Islamic purpose, and two, you cannot give to your heirs. So your will is not about everything you can do. It is about those who are not your heirs. They have been mentioned though, for identification. You cannot give them in your will. Now, when you have done that, you have now saying my will should be shared according to my inheritance, my property should be shared according to Islamic law. The other thing you put there is your, I've said the liability, so that's fine. So the other thing you put there is that it should be shared according to Islamic law. If you like maybe Hanafi school or Maliki, or you leave it empty, that basically is your Islamic will. That basically is your Islamic will. Now, inheritance has to do with the word your heirs. You cannot, as a Muslim, will to your heirs, and you cannot prevent your heirs from inheriting you. So when that part of your will has been taken care of, which should give not more than 1/3 of your property, the 2/3 that are left is going to be shared by your heirs. So this is the difference between inheritance and will in the Western sense. So that part of the question that says that based on what I've learned in the lecture, non-Muslims can be given within a will, yes. But can't get part of the inheritance, absolutely yes also. But the last part, does a Muslim child can take what a non-Muslim father wills? No, we are talking about wills with the will of a Muslim here, because the non-Muslim is not making an Islamic will, but can't inherit if not will? No, again, because we are not even talking about a non-Muslim will. So the last part of that question is just not applicable to the discussion. It is not the understanding here that we are talking about a non-Muslim's will. We are actually only talking about the Muslim's will. So the question is moot, whether a Muslim child can take what a non-Muslim father wills. No, the question is moot because it's not the topic. So that clarification, I hope, helps.
No. Okay. There's another question. No, I think it has been answered.
Okay.
That's a male child having more share than the other kids in the family in the name of firstborn. I think we have addressed this.
Yes. The only thing to add to that is that even if the male child is the last born, the only thing to add is that it's not a question of first or second or third born. Even if the male child is the last born and is just a baby, and the oldest child is 40 years older than him, the male child still takes mithlu hadhul unthayayn, still takes double of what the female child takes. So just to clarify, it's not based on being firstborn or secondborn or first wife or second wife. Female, male, wives. If there are more than one wife, somebody asks a question and we can model it. If there is more than one wife, the wives all share 1/8. If there are two wives, they get 1/16 each. 3 wives, I don't know the maths there, but it goes on like that. They all share 1/8. If there is up to more than one wife, the 4 of them maximum share 1/8. 2 of them share 1/8. 3 of them share 1/8. Allah knows best. Yes, please. Moderator, I think your mic.
There's a hand up, Dr. Ibrahim. Can you talk to us within 1 minute and we'll round off, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, doctor. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can. I don't, maybe doctor is on mute and he doesn't realize.
Yeah, he is. Please unmute if you can hear me.
Meanwhile, there's a question in the meantime. Elijah Abdurazak, there's a question in the box that just emerged. A man passed away and left 2 wives and children. Not long after, one of the wives passed away too. Now, as per inheritance, is the wife that has passed now entitled since she was alive at the time the man passed? The answer is yes. Absolutely. Even the fetus is entitled, because the fetus, if the fetus is alive, is not been born. The fetus is now born life. The fetus is entitled. It's one of the reasons why there could be a delay in distributing property valid under the Sharia, for instance.
Okay, sir. Jazakumullah khairan. Doctor, are you available now? Okay, bravo. Nasir Salah.
Assalamu
alaikum.
I want the professor to answer this question. In the event that a wife is pregnant before the distribution of the estates, is it advisable to hold on to the distribution, or to assume that the fetus is a male and reserve two parts?
Yes, Brother Nasir knows the answer to the question and he has provided it. Absolutely. You can do either, but the easiest one is to just assume that it's a male. If it's especially if the fetus is just 1 month or 2 months and waiting 7 months may start causing rancor or friction, the Sharia already, the Fuqaha already settled this thing. You assume it's a male, and so that there is no loss. And if it comes out that the child is a female, then you redistribute what is not due to the child in the proportion that it will have gone to those other beneficiaries. Absolutely, Brab Nasser, you are correct. Yes, that's what we do. There is a question here from our cousin Ilori, who is in charge to value the entire property of the deceased before it is shared. Experts, if it's a house, get the house value, get the property valuer, get the house estate valuer, or whatever. If it is a shares, get the stockbrokers to give you the cost of the shares. If it is foreign exchange, get the foreign exchange in or its value in the currency you are having at the point of sharing. Yes, you call the expert, you use expert knowledge on it. This is Islamic. It's not something that is unique or required of. It's a thing that must be ensured to be done by the executors, but it's not for the executor to say, I'm looking at this house. It's a lawyer like me. Say, I'm looking at this house. It's 4 million. What's my own? I'm a lawyer. I'm not an estate agent. Why can I say it's 4 million? Let the estate agent, 2-3 of them give us valuation and you pay them. These are part of the things that have to be taken care of from the estate itself. Yeah, that's a good question, but is the expert as appropriate? Jibril, you want to ask a question? Mute your mic, please.
Doctor, are you here now?
Something is happening to the system.
Okay, fine. Maybe it's left the phone or whatever is using. So we want to, okay, let me call Bra Fatai Demolaraji, far away from Indiana, to give us vote of thanks. We don't know where side that is. Thank our lecturer, thank our guests, and everybody that has come here. And just who is here again? Doctor, are you here?
Yes, I'm here now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. I've been trying to unmute my speaker since.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much, honorable lecturer. My question still relates to the question I asked the last time. Let me repeat.
Yes, please.
Okay. I asked the other day that a man, the deceased person, left 3 children. One of them had left the fold of Islam. His estate should be administered based on Sharia.
Okay.
We agree that Sharia we own.
Yes, sir.
And like you rightly said, that because the other child who is no longer a Muslim to share part of his inheritance. Now, this guy said that he has been discriminated against based on religion.
Yes.
And he goes to the court of law.
Yes.
Under the common law.
Yes.
And our constitution says that you cannot discriminate against anybody based on religion.
Yes.
And the constitution also says that any other law other than Nigerian constitutions is not, is subordinate to the Nigerian constitutions.
Yes.
Now, the other 2 children who are Muslims are now in dilemma as to what to do. If they go to the courts, what would they achieve? Thank you very much.
Thank you. If they go to a court that knows its law, and I believe our courts know their law, the first thing is actually, humbly, I think I'm very qualified to answer this question. I have degrees in human rights, including a PhD. and I'm a professor of human rights, as it were, and I know Nigerian constitution. For every right, there is a limit.
Okay.
A will is not a right in that way under Nigerian constitution. It's not your property. It's not a right. A will is not a right. In that same law that he's looking at, his father could have excluded him and he can't claim any right. So that is under the common law. If we leave aside Islamic law and his father says, no, you are not taking from my property, under that law, it's his father's property, it's not his. It's not a matter of right, it's a privilege. He loses it. Unless there is a good reason that can be adduced otherwise. Okay, that is one. So under the law he wants to proceed, he has no right to enforce in the first place.
Okay.
So that solves it. But even more so, you see, this constitution provision is there. The same constitution, I've repeated this, and I think we need for it to sink in. The Nigerian constitution, it's just because of time, actually, because I think we Muslims need to know our rights. The Nigerian constitution recognizes Islamic personal law that says this property is that of a Muslim, as that case in Ibadan showed us. The only reason why they said they will not enforce it is because, in fact, it doesn't satisfy the condition that he has lived in relation to his marriage as a Muslim. That was the problem. So there is no problem at all. The constitution supports that he cannot get from the property is the long and short.
Okay.
If because of the fact that of filial bond, that's why the fact that is now decide not to be a Muslim or whatever, they want a reconciliatory approach, they can mediate. But if the mediation breaks down, right, they should not fear litigation. It will actually help to set some things straight all the way. If it is not gotten right, it will be gotten right by the time it goes to the Supreme Court. He doesn't have a right. It's not a right. You can be discriminated only on something that's a right. It's not a right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate our prof. Allah reward you abundantly. There are two questions that I would like to take before we close, and I will read the two together so that we save time. One is from my younger brother, Nigi Wahab from Abuja. It says, in a situation where the dead parent didn't leave a will, but the family, including multiple wives, are not in agreement as to the use of Sharia, what do you advise is the best way to handle a scenario like this? And then the last one, inshallah, are the properties going to be sold for easy distribution, or is it going to be shared based on value placed on property? That's from Kazim Ilori. So I think we should take those two and close shop.
Thank you. I will take the last one first because there isn't a specification as to what should be done. They should do whichever they are in agreement on and which would be most beneficial. It's one of the things I hinted at, as it were. The key issue is that the shares that are allotted should be the basis for distribution, whether it is sold or it is put to rent. This will be something that may both work for some time. I mean, it may be that it is better in the interim to put it to rent and then share the proceeds according to the Islamic prescriptions on shares, or if it is felt that, well, it will actually be more beneficial to sell or at a later date to sell at a later date, definitely it is Islamic, and it should then be done based on hopefully agreement. But the executors will have the last word on this, as it were. So there's none of them that is wrong. It has to be, you can't have a general rule on these issues. These are case-based issues. And one case, this may be the better one. Another one, given the circumstances of who are left and all of those things. So this is it. The first part of the question, the first question, mediation is always better, even for people who go to war. If you try and you are not able to get everybody on the table to understand that for the benefit of the deceased, This is why we should write our will, for the benefit of the deceased and for the benefit of the deceased, just so to say. We should do the right thing also for our own benefit as Muslims. They have to settle at a middle ground if they are not able to get full concurrence. That's a realistic expectation. What should have stopped it did not stop it, and that is that we should have had a will. And there are just going to be too many cases like this if we continue the way we have carried on as community, all of us, whether Muslim or even non-Muslim, to be honest. So it's difficult. It's difficult to say they must use Islamic by force or not, because you don't want to also cause acrimony in the family. And the reality is that it's such a complicated thing once there is no will. That's why I kept repeating that even if the will doesn't solve all the problem, having one really helps a lot to reduce the friction and problems that there can be. Allah knows best. So I don't have a straight answer because it's just not realistic. The ideal thing we all know is that they should use Islamic law, but whether they will be able to or not in the event that the person has not decreed it and there are multiple wives, as we know, and there will be only two to only big bear, as we say in Yoruba land there, and there will be some of them who feel if they use Sharia, I'm going to lose out because of that. The one thing is to remind every one of us that it's only Allah's blessings that is supreme, but that may fall on deaf ears if the person even believes in Allah at all. Allah knows best. So we know the ideal, but Islam, we have to face the reality of what can or not be done realistically. So I don't have an answer in terms of what you can enforce there, except that you let it be known, and then when you are overpowered, then you leave it at that point. Allah knows best.
So that we don't discriminate. A woman has asked, or a sister had asked a question long time ago, that can a woman make will? I'm not sure this was answered. It was one of the early questions.
But I made this. The word is not canon, was then missed, or maybe our sister was not here. One of the earliest things I said is that we think about wills as a male thing. For Allah's sake, there is no discrimination. Aisha radiallahu anha, the Sahaba, they all females, they made wills. We are required, it's not a male thing, no. Will is for Muslims, male and female, for Allah's sake. And especially so these days. For the same reason that the man should make a will, the woman should make a will. Please, we are required. There is not a male thing at all. At all.
Okay, please. From Dr. Raji himself, it's a question from Facebook. If wife dies, can her husband take part of her property before sharing the property?
No, the husband is part of the inheritors. And he has, the primary inheritors take their shares and the remaining is then shared. That is how to put it. So, yes, the husband inherits if the person has left. I said that already here. If the person has left, it's not a question of take. There is an allotment. If the wife has children, then the husband is entitled to 1/4. If the woman is not been blessed by, the wife is not been blessed with children, then the husband takes half. Just like converse, the wife takes 1/8 if the husband has children, and she takes 1/4 if the husband doesn't have children. So yeah, there's no doubt they are inheritors of each other. They are heirs of each other.
I don't want to appear partisan. That's why Shamsuddin Otoye. Finally, he said a man born a Muslim died a Christian, married 2 wives, the first Muslim and the second a Christian. The children practiced their mother's religion, and the man left will, discriminating against the first wife. Should the children of the first wife let go?
The children of the first wife, are they Muslims?
They are Muslims. They follow their mother's according to the brother.
And continue to be Muslims?
Yes.
Okay. Well, to be honest, strictly speaking, the moment the husband became a non-Muslim, the marriage should be deemed ended in the first, as regards the wife first. And as regards the children, I had stated it earlier, Muslims inherit and are inherited by Muslims and vice versa. So for the avoidance of doubt,
That's the response.
that's the position.
So,
Yeah.
once again, we thank our prof. Please, they are already calling us for good. Dr. Abata Ademolaraji, please, can you give vote of thanks on behalf of H&H?
Assalamu alaikum. Just before you, I think Brother Bashir, hello, I think Brother Bashir stated that we're going to have that practical section where how to use that online calculator is done in a short while if you have little time. So I don't know whether you still remember that we gave that assurance that we will be, go through practical section.
You said if you have time, that was a condition. There's no more time, inshallah. So we all have the link to the website, and I think it's very, very clear enough. I tried one myself with my wife beside me, and as you are clicking, it is changing the portions. So it's very, very simple. And I know you are more mathematical inclined more than me, so it's very simple.
No, it's very straightforward.
So Dr. Raji,
it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So, alhamdulillah, on behalf of the H&H, I want to thank Professor Abdul Hakim Yusuf. Wallahi, we have enjoyed your lecture, the first one and the second one. When I share your lecture with my colleagues here in the US, wallahi, everybody was happy. But I hope some of them will have loved to join, but this program started around 4 a.m. But I'm sure they are waiting for the program. So we thank you very much. May Allah bless you. May Allah continue to increase you in knowledge. May Allah continue to increase you in taqwa. Okay. And then for our guests too, we thank you very much for joining. And we believe that this won't be the last lecture to be organized. And inshallah, we're still going to invite Professor Yusuf back to come and give us lectures on other programs. So I want to thank everybody that participated in this program. May Allah reward us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan, Doctor.
Yes, sir.